You know, season of the ukulele 23 bonus Uncle Hiram's homemade beer. Well, I was just a boy at the time when this drinking Uncle Hiram of mine decided to make a batch of homemade beer. Don't tell a soul, he said to me, but I've come across this recipe that says for pennies a day you can drink all year. So we searched the alleys behind the bars for empty jugs and mason jars, and we carried them down to his basement brewery. He made it out of yeast and sugar and hops, and he said to me as he sealed the top, "For Jesus' sake, don't tell your Aunt Marie. She'll say, hey there, Hiram, what's going on down there? There's some peculiar odor coming up the basement stairs. Oh, go back to your sewing, hon, I'm varnishing a chair." The time my Uncle Hiram made his famous homemade beer. We let it sit for a week or so, then me and Uncle sneaked down below, figuring it's about time we ought to give it a try. I was standing at the foot of the stairs when Uncle Hiram was sampling the wares, and suddenly 2 bottles just blew sky high. Well, jars went crashing, lids went clunk, my uncle dived behind a trunk, and the beer began to spew out upon the floor. "Don't worry about me, boys, save yourselves." So fast as I could, I run up the steps, and out of breath, I quickly slammed the door. Well, Aunt Marie come a-running, and she said, "What's the matter, dear?" "Well, Uncle's homemade beer's blowing up and got him trapped down there." She said, "Beer, beer, well, I declare, Hiram, you come up out of there." Well, the sound of exploding beer was all we could hear. And she said, "Hey there, Hiram, what's going on down there? There's some peculiar odor coming up the basement stair. I'll go back to your sewing, hon, I'm varnishing a chair." Time my Uncle Hiram made his famous homemade beer. Well, it sounded like a war till about midnight, and the bottles blew up left and right till just a little while we could hear one and that one here. After a while we could hear one here and there. Then Aunt Marie got a comforter and holding it up in the front of her, and with me behind, we started off down the stairs. The place was messy to say the least, and the walls were sticky and smelled like yeast, and the lids and the glass and the beer was all around. It had been quite a battle, there was no doubt, but when we started to look about, Uncle Hiram was just no place to be found. Aunt Marie hollered, "Hiram, oh dear, dear, he's been killed by a jar of beer. I warned him of drinking, but he never listened to me." Then up come the lid on an antique trunk, and there stood beer blind, running drunk. It was the great lamented love of Aunt Marie. And she said, "Hey there, Hiram, what's going on down there? There's some peculiar odor coming up the basement stair. I'll go back to your sewing, hon, I'm varnishing a chair." That time my Uncle Hiram made his famous homemade beer. He said, rather than see it all go to waste, I figured I might as well have a little taste, and I reckon I tasted about 15 jars of beer. So y'all go on back upstairs now, because I'm staying right here.